the camp governor walked in and addressed the assembled guards. The governor told them that Her Majesty's government was fed up with these protesting prisoners, as they had now become an international embarrassment to Her Majesty's government. With the recent Cardinal O'Fee visit to the camp, he said the government now needed to end the protest by whatever means at their disposal, and to have all the protesting prisoners in prison uniform by Christmas 1978. All normal prison rules and regulations would be put to one side for the duration of this special action against the prisoners. The parade of prison guards were ordered to make life hell for the streakers, as the governor called us, and to drag them into a twilight world where they would rather be dead than be alive. The prison guard told me that they were delighted with this order, as they hated the blanket men with a passion and couldn't wait to get their hands on them. He said, quote, "The next wing shift, Kearney, was like a turkey shoot, with prisoners being beaten senseless and their heads being rammed into the steel grills at the end of the wing." Now, years later, this prison officer was a born-again Christian, preferred not to be reminded of that dark period in his life. While we were fighting against criminalisation in the H-blocks, our women comrades in Armagh prison were fighting the enemy with exactly the same courage and steadfastness as us. The brutality and deprivation inflicted on our women comrades must never be forgotten in the battle against criminalisation. The methods deployed by the British to crush the women's resistance included beatings and psychological torture. Regular and brutal strip searches carried out by both female and male wardens in Armagh prison were designed to break the resolve of our women comrades. They demonstrated the same determination, the same single-mindedness, and exactly the same stamina as the blanket men, with Oglach Mairead Farrell at the helm. Perhaps the unsung heroines in this story are the women on the outside. Those mothers, wives, daughters, sisters and sweethearts who protested and supported us in every way possible. They banged bin lids, blew whistles, smuggled comms and kept communications open from the jails to the outside world. They prayed for us, cried for us, and in many ways suffered along with us during those 5 long years. Some of those heroic women are with us here tonight, and we are eternally grateful for the support they have demonstrated. By the autumn of 1980, both sides had fought each other to a standstill. In a desperate attempt to end the barbaric treatment of the blanket men and Armagh women, we, the blanket men, decided to hunger strike to the death and a cry for help to the outside world. By Christmas 1980, it seemed there was a light at the end of the dark tunnel, but as a result of British intransigence and skullduggery, the light was extinguished again. And so it was. On the 1st of March 1981, a lone piper named Bobby Sands commenced a second hunger strike which would shatter the British defences and blow a hole in their criminalisation policy. 10 men in total died that summer, and with their deaths our chains were broken. On the 3rd of October 1981, the hunger strike ended with a number of our 5 demands being granted, including the removal of the criminal uniform, the outward badge of criminality. By October 1982, as a result of the battle for segregation, we had successfully secured further demands, including our own wings and our own command structure. By September 1983, the final demand over the work issue was secured, when our heroic comrades smashed their way out through the front gates of the H-blocks. Smashed their way out through the front gates of the H-blocks in what has become widely known as the Great Escape. Not only was this a massive propaganda victory for the Republican movement, but it dealt a hammer blow to the criminalisation policy of the British, which now lay in tatters. The British penal administration was now on the back foot and now on the run. Our victory within the camp was now assured. From that point onwards, incoming volunteers from the war would not have to endure a Spartan lifestyle within the H-blocks, which we had endured for years. Instead, incoming POWs would be entering a prison camp under a Republican military command structure with a Republican ethos. The Breakers' Yard and the defeat of Irish republicanism, which the British had longed for, never materialised. So, finally, what is the moral of this story and the reasoning and purpose behind all of this tonight? Well, just before he died on hunger strike, a good friend and comrade of mine, Kevin Lynch from Dungiven, walked... Barabbas. Kevin Lynch from Dungiven walked into the canteen one Sunday for Mass. He had been on the hunger strike for quite a while, and when I saw him, I was shocked at his appearance. He was the ashes of his former fires, and most of the lads in the canteen that day were afraid to go over to him because they didn't know what to say. They were transfixed by him. The screws brought in a brown plastic chair for him to sit on, and I watched as he buried his head between his knees in agony. I eventually went over and knelt down beside him. I inquired how he was, but he could hardly hold his head up and could only speak in whispers. I said to him, "Kevin, I feel guilty." And he replied, "Seamus, why do you feel guilty?" I answered, "I feel guilty for eating and drinking and about living on after you're gone." After a long pause, Kevin said, "Seamus, do not feel guilty about this. Some of us can do this and some of us can't, but do not feel guilty. Just don't forget all of this or us and live on and tell the story." And that day, I promised him that I would live on and not forget and would one day tell the story. Kevin died on August the 1st, 1981 in the prison hospital in Longcash. So Kevin, I did live on. I didn't forget, and I told the story. I remember that day back in the summer of 1981 in the canteen at Mass. The blanket men and Armagh women tonight did not forget, and they too remember. So, Bobby, Francis, Raymond, Patsy, Joe, Martin, Kevin, Kieran, Tom, Mickey, we did not forget and we remember. We will never forget the value of your sacrifice, and comrades, we will meet again, but not yet, not yet. So comrades, tonight I say to you all, our story is ultimately a positive one, despite the tragedy, despite the heartache, and despite the pain. We did laugh in the face of tyranny as we suffered, and for some of us as we died. Dead faces laughed, comrades, in the end, dead faces laughed. Today, as the H-blocks in Armagh prisons crumble into dust, we are still standing, bloodied but unbowed and unbroken. While we will never forget the brutality of the H-blocks in Armagh prisons, we would not wish for them to become a monument to our hardship and suffering. Instead, we would much prefer the H-blocks in Armagh prisons to be remembered and to become a testament to the triumph of the human spirit over adversity, a triumph of wisdom and largeness of spirit over small minds, pettiness and cruelty, a triumph of courage and determination over human frailty and human weakness, and ultimately a demonstration of humanity over stark inhumanity. Sinead Gormila Moyles.